The best and most guaranteed way to raise money is to have a great team, to build a great product, and to be getting meaningful traction. That is a surefire formula, no matter what the environment is or no matter what your business is, to raise capital for your new venture. That being said, I get asked all the time, how do you have to present, or what mistakes do you need to avoid when you're in the official pitch meetings with investors, whether they're angel investors or venture capitalists? And so here is a list of items that for me are the art of the pitch. None of these will by themselves help you raise capital. But if you have those three other fundamentals in place or some combination of them, these are the things that you can do in the pitch meeting that will help your case the most. Don't rely on your slides. You're going to have a pitch deck and it's there. The big mistake I see people make is go slide by slide, or even worse, read specifically what's on the slide. You want to have an engaging conversation with somebody. You're forming a relationship with this potential investor or investors. You don't need to read them a book report. You need to get them to like you. You need to get them engaged in the conversation. And so the best advice I can give you is stay away from your slides, have a conversation, and then when they ask about a specific piece of data, jump to a slide, maybe out of order. But instead of going through a 15 to 20 slide deck, slide by slide, and walking through each one, which for the investor is boring and will disengage them, just have your deck off to the side, have an authentic, organic conversation, and rely on the slides as you need to speak to specific points of data. Expect to get interrupted. One of the big mistakes folks make, especially when they're early on in pitching, is they practice this pitch that they've given over and over that takes about 20 minutes, and they want to get their great pitch out. They want the investor to know how articulate and amazing they can get a pitch out. And then they find themselves in a situation where 30 seconds into their pitch, or 2 minutes into their pitch, the investor interrupts them, asks them a question, asks them another question, and takes them off on a tangent. And many times those folks get completely thrown off. You can't expect to be in a pitch meeting and just have an unlimited amount of time to tell your story. Folks are going to dive into a specific topic that they're interested in, whether it's the team or the product or traction. They're going to ask you questions. They're going to take you in different directions. And if you're not ready for that conversation to take many left and right turns and go in every which direction, you're going to leave the impression with the investor that you really don't know your business and that you're there just giving a rehearsed canned speech that you prepared for them. It's very hard not to come off as defensive in a pitch meeting with investors. People are going to be poking holes, talking down, telling you all the reasons why your idea, why your business isn't going to work. Even if you have traction, many times potential investors are going to tell you why you can't get more traction, why you can't build the big business that you intend to. And it's hard. It's hard to hear anybody tell you that this thing that you're putting your blood, sweat, and tears into and have worked nonstop on for a year, 2 years, isn't going to work. And in those moments, we have to train ourselves when we get that critical feedback to let the investors, to let the potential investors get out their points and don't give them the impression that we just blew it off. Many times, people just need to hear themselves speak and see how you respond. And so the very simplest thing that you can do is when somebody gives you critical feedback about something on your business, listen intently. You don't have to agree with it if you don't. Just avoid the word but. But negates everything that came before it. So instead of cutting an investor off or telling them why they're wrong or saying but all the time to the points that they're giving you, well, I understand what you're talking about, but that doesn't apply here because. Listen intently and simply say and. And the and can either disagree with what they're saying or it can reinforce what they're saying. But what it's going to do is create a more fluid conversation where the investor does not get the impression that you are defensive about their feedback, that you are open to hearing new ideas. And it's going to lead to a more positive overall impression about you as a potential investment candidate. Convey inevitability. You want to leave your investor or potential investors with the impression, with the understanding that your deal is going to get done regardless of whether they invest in it or not. And that really what you're doing and spending time with them and seeing is if you're a right fit for each other. And don't come out of somebody from a place of need, which we all repel and is unattractive, but come to them and create scarcity. Let them know that this deal is closing, it's closing soon, and we're really here to see if we're the right fit for each other. Also, by conveying inevitability, it's going to help you balance being confident versus cocky. Every investor wants to invest in a confident leader, team, co-founders. But if you cross that line to cocky, you leave the impression that people aren't going to want to work with you. And so the most straightforward, simple way to do that is to let people know this is happening, this deal is getting done. I would love to see if we're the right fit to work together on this. Talk up your team. First and foremost, all investors are investing in people. They're investing in you. You have to first sell yourself. And so one of the things that's always going to help your case is for those investors to see that this is a cohesive, passionate team that really likes each other and really gets along and really believes in each other. And so instead of stumbling over each other or cutting each other off or one person trying to stand out from the group, prop each other up. If you're pitching with a co-founder, if you're with 3 people in the pitch, talk each other up. It's always a little bit of a social faux pas to talk about the things that you do well. But it's very easy for your co-founder to talk you up excitedly and passionately about all the great things you've done and all the great things that you're going to do. And the more people on your team that are important and key to the deal that you can bring to a second and third investor pitch meeting, the better. And if you can leave those investors with a sense that this is a team that really gets along with each other, really likes each other, is really in it together, you're always going to help your case on how people perceive you and the potential possibility of wanting to invest in your deal. Tell a grand story. One of the big mistakes that I made when I was early on in pitching venture capitalists was that I felt it was my responsibility to let them know about all the risks of what could happen. And I didn't want to be perceived as someone that had these pie-in-the-sky thoughts of what he could do. I wanted somebody to see me as a realistic, reasonable, objective entrepreneur. And that was a huge mistake. The best thing that you can do in a pitch meeting is paint a huge vision of what you're going to accomplish. A multi-billion-dollar company. And even if it seems outlandish, and even if it seems far-fetched, and even if it feels like you're aligned because what proof do you have in your background to say that you're going to create this company, you have to get those investors, especially venture capitalists, excited about the potential, about the big outcome of your idea. They are well aware of all the risks and challenges and pitfall in building such a large company, much more so than the individual entrepreneur. And so by not getting the investor excited about what the eventual potential of the business could be, of the eventual outcome, many times we cut ourselves off at the knees and investors will say things to us like, well, it's not a big enough market, good entrepreneur, but they're thinking too small, not worth my capital allocation. And so let's not do ourselves that disservice. Let's paint the biggest, grandest vision that we can possibly do of what this business could and should become. If you're pitching a product that has any traction, one of the most important things you can do in your pitch is have a very small set of KPIs, 4, 5, 6 at most, that demonstrate the valuable traction that you're getting and put those KPIs right up front. They should include things like your growth rate in users, which is much more important than the actual aggregate users that you have, your cost per acquisition, the engagement of users, the net promoter score, the early signs of conversion and monetization. Anything and everything that shows that A, this business is going to keep growing and scaling at a compounding rate, B, that people love the product and service, and that C, there's a meaningful monetization opportunity. And those should be communicated through 5 simple metrics that you can put on a slide and walk an investor through within the first 3 to 5 minutes of your pitch meeting. Speak the investor's language. You have to get into the mind of an investor, whether it's an angel investor or a venture capitalist, and think about things from their perspective, whether they're investing their own money or a large fund that they raise that they're on the line for. They're seeing hundreds and hundreds of deals. What's going to make you stand out? You have to talk to them like they think. All investors are not looking for being out on the forefront and taking a massive risk in your deal. They're willing to take risk, but they want some social validation. They want some indicators that A, this is going to be a massive business opportunity, and that B, you're going to be able to execute your way to that business opportunity. And so by constantly showing as many social proof indicators as you can, whether it's the people on your team and where they've worked in the past and the things that they've done that are directly tied to what you're doing, trends of what are going on in the market, of how there's acquisition happening, of how there's interest around this particular type of product and service, social validation around the traction that you're getting in the market by showing the key metrics of how your product is doing and how people are adopting to it. De-risk the proposition by taking them through the mental process and the mental checklist that they have and giving it to them. And the 5 P's that all investors care about are people, product, progress, passion, and persistence. And if you can demonstrate how you're in the plus column for all 5 of those, you're going to be speaking their language to them and always get them excited and interested in your deal.